morning, everyone. I just realized that I left my background lights on and it's kind of distracting, so I'm just gonna hit them off. Just give me 1 second. All right, I am back. I don't like it when those lights shine in the background because they create weird shadows on my work surface. I have some studio lights up front here that have umbrellas on them so they don't create those weird shadows that you sometimes see if I forget to turn off my lights. So good morning, everyone. I'm so glad that you can be here today because I'm going to be using Brusho for the very first time. I bought the Brusho when it first came out in the Cajun's catalog about 2 months ago. We can pre-order as demonstrators. I pulled it out. I popped a hole in the top, and because you might do this too. Watercolor paper I don't have as much of it, so I just use plain Whisper White, which I have a lot of it, and I tried to play around with it, and I really didn't like my results. I'm like, what is everyone else doing? I didn't have the time. I put it aside. I tried it again with Whisper White, and I got kind of crappy results again. And I'm like, maybe people know something I don't know. And I was like, I probably should try it with watercolor paper, which is really what is recommended to use with the Brusho. And finally I did. I started off with a little scrap I had left over, and I'm like, oh yeah, this actually works with watercolor paper. So I'm hoping today this card, I've done it twice now, so I'm hoping that I can recreate it a third time. If I can do it 3 times in a row with pretty good results, then I'm thinking that it will be safe for you guys to do it too. I really haven't, other than when I was at Onstage, I really haven't seen anyone else do anything with Brusho. I haven't watched any videos of other people doing stuff with Brusho, but there are other people that have done stuff with Brusho. So this is my take on how I would do Brusho one way. There are other techniques with it. So, but I really like this card. I'm really happy with the way it turned out. It's not hard. So I want to show you how to do that today. It's Casing Tuesday, so I'm kind of doing 2 things. It's the day when we take a card out of the catalog and we copy it. We do a makeover of the card, and we have a great group of bloggers that help us out now. And so if you're watching this, you have no idea what I'm talking about. We have a Facebook group that you can join, and up at the top there's the card of the week, and you can see which card we're copying, doing a makeover of this week. You'll see a whole bunch of people have posted under that thread with cards. A lot of those are our bloggers, and then there's people like you, maybe that aren't part of our group. You might be a customer, you might be a demonstrator, and then you can join in and you can share your card, no matter who you are. Share your version of that card, and then we can comment on it. So it's kind of neat. The great thing about casing a card, I know I say this every week, is that you get a chance to try out a new layout. Maybe try out something that you wouldn't have normally been comfortable with. And I think, you know what, I'm going to flip the camera around now because I want to show you the layout for this week, and I'm going to talk a little bit about it. So let me just let me find my little flippy button. I think it's right here. Okay. We're raining in Boston today. We're going to have a lot of rain and probably some wind. Let me get this so it's situated just right. Okay, let me put this up top here, this here. Okay, so this is the card in the catalog. This is the Celebration catalog. This card is on page 4. And because this card was kind of cut off, I actually created the card because I had the stamps for it, and it was really easy. Now this card is a really, really simple card. You've got just 1 layer, and you just stamp on it, 2 stamps. It's probably really, it was very fast for me to do, and it's a cute card. but it's very basic. And so for us bloggers, you know, we're like, what are we going to do with that? You know, it's a very simple card. But the good news about making over a card like that, it's really great for beginners, because guess what? 2 stamps would be really easy. Or you could make it more complicated. You could add an extra layer or add an embellishment or whatever. But that is the card for the week. So very, very basic. So what did I do with it? I took it, I kind of did the same idea. 2 stamps I embossed, and then I used Brusho to color it. So I'm using the Beautiful Day stamp, which is in the Occasions catalog. It, I think, was meant to be used with the Brusho. They had Brusho. I think they created the stamp set for us to use with Brusho in particular. You can use Brusho with many other stamps, but this is the page where Brusho also appears on. So it's a good match for using the Brusho. The other thing I'm using is the Amazing You stamp set. This is a celebration stamp set, and you can earn the stamp set free with a $50 purchase. So I use the Celebrate and the U out of there for up at the top. Or the nice flexible thing about this card is you could use another greeting that would fit in that space as well. So how did I do this card? So I'm going to put this up in the top corner here. Let's start off with the hard part, which is the watercolor paper layer. So I've cut a piece of our watercolor paper to 4 inches by 4 inches. I'm not going to need that yet. We need to do embossing first. So I'll be using my Versamark pad. I'll need my embossing buddy. I will use these 2 stamps. So the butterfly I've got on a separate block, and I put the Celebrate You on its own block. I had to trim around my Celebrate and You a little bit so I could squish them up together, because they are actually 2 separate stamps. So I just kind of put them together. So the first thing I like to do when I'm embossing is I like to rub the embossing buddy over my layer. This makes it so that the powder will only stick to the Versamark. You can do it without an embossing buddy too, but you're going to have cleaner results with the embossing buddy. Versamark is the ink that we use to help the embossing powder stick because it stays wet for a long time. So you have time to get the embossing powder on there and heat it. So I'm going to just tap this all over my butterfly stamp. I want to make sure I get really good coverage. Okay, I'm going to stamp this down in the bottom corner. Make sure you get good pressure on here. Watercolor paper is kind of porous, so it's not a really smooth surface. So you're not going to have perfect results, but if you give it a little bit of pressure, it should be better than if you don't. You can see very lightly my image right now. And then the Celebrate You is just going to come up here. I'm going to emboss both of these images at the same time. So, all right, now we need some embossing powder. I'm using the copper embossing powder. I've dumped it into a little Tupperware or a little plastic container because it's easier for me than sprinkling it over a piece of paper and then funneling it back into the container. I like to do it this way. This is just a baby spoon I had left over from when my son was little. So I can sprinkle and then I can tap. And I'm going to do the same for the bottom. Sprinkle over my image. Tap. If you notice, like up here, I didn't get really good coverage, so let me go ahead and sprinkle a little bit more here and here. tap. Okay, that's pretty good. So now I need to emboss this. So I'm going to take my heat tool. This is what it looks like. I'm going to turn it all the way up on high. This is going to take a little while to melt, so bear with me. I don't know if it takes longer on the watercolor paper because it's porous, or if it's just that I have so much to heat up. You're going to wait and see. Once it starts to change color, you'll know that your embossing powder has melted, and then you can move on to the next area. I hope you can hear me okay. Up at the top here, it wasn't perfect. My stamping wasn't perfect. Part of the reason for that is just because it's so porous. And be careful not to burn your fingers. Notice I'm moving my fingers out of the way of the heat tool. This is a lot hotter than like a blow dryer that you would use for your hair. Now let me do the Celebrate You up top here. So because it's porous, the top didn't get perfect inking with the Versamark, and let's see. I want to make sure that this is completely embossed before you move any further. Okay, that looks good. I'm just holding it up to the light when I do that, and you can kind of see that there's no spots where it hasn't melted. So, okay, this is what I wanted to show you. Up here, it's not perfect. But you know what? Once you've got the color on there, you will not see that. So just as long as you have like a fairly decent stamped and embossed image, it's not going to make a difference. So now I'm going to need my little plate. And first, I'm going to do two different things to this image. First, I'm going to use an aqua painter, and I'm going to just go over the butterfly image with an aqua painter with just water in it, no color. I'm not picking up any color. I am just going to go over that image. Then I'm going to add powder, and then I'm going to spritz. So I'm going to do a process of two things. But first, I just wanted to show you my Brusho. This is the little box it came in, so I kind of just folded over the flaps, and I'm just keeping them all together like this. They recommend that you don't open this Brusho up in the normal fashion. It's a very fine powder, and it will get everywhere. As soon as I heard that, I'm like, I am never opening up that container because I am a little bit glitter phobic. So yeah, do not open it up. So the way that we use it is I just have poked one hole into the top with a thumbtack, and then I'm using that thumbtack to also block the hole. You could also use, if you wanted to do more than one hole, like I know some people want like maybe 3 holes, so they can sprinkle it a little bit more. Then you can use a piece of like masking tape or something like that and put it over the top of the holes once you're done. But I like the little thumbtack. It's easy for me to pick up as well. So all the ones that I've opened already have a hole in them. We're going to be using the yellow, I don't even know how to pronounce this, gamboge. It's probably French. Let me just call it orange. I'm using the yellow, orange, and the brilliant red today. So they're already set up to go. Now I'm going to take my aqua painter. It's kind of, it feels wet to me. If yours isn't wet, you want to just take a tissue and just kind of, you know, squeeze it until it gets wet. So the first one I did, I went wetter, and the second one I did it a little drier, wetter, drier. I mean, there was more water coming out when I did the aqua painting. So my first one, when I put the powder on, it went whoosh. And the second one, it was more like of a subtle thing. So I'm going to kind of do medium water. I'm going to try to do that. I'm just brushing my butterfly now, I'm trying to stay within the lines right now. okay? Just staying within the lines of the butterfly. I hope it looks good. All right, first color. I'm starting with the lightest color, which is yellow. So I'm just gonna start sprinkling some yellow. Oh, it looks like I actually got pretty good water on there, maybe a lot more like my first card. Next, we're gonna be using the orange color I can't pronounce. So I'm just, you know, I'm not doing a ton of sprinkling, right? There's just a bit coming out. And then I'm going to use the Brilliant Red. Okay, I think I've got enough on there. Put the thumbtack on. So now, okay, I've got some movement in there. Want to see if there's, in some spots I got more water than others. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to spritz. Okay, so I want see how I kind of got it going this way? So I'm going to try and spritz away from the Celebrate You. You want to make sure on your spritzer, this one's a Stampin' Up! One, that you've got the little hole facing the right way so you don't spritz yourself or spritz something you don't want to spritz. So I notice right here I've got a little bit of the powder that's not quite yet taken to anything. So I'm gonna do a little, oops, see, there we go. See how it kind of spritzed off the edge a little bit? Like that. Let me see if I can get that little spot. I might need to come in here with a little bit of my aqua painter and hit that just a bit. I think that will give me a little bit more control. Okay. So I've got, you can kind of see how I've got the stuff and it's kind of just spritzed around. And now you could set it to dry, or if you kind of want things to kind of just stay exactly as they are, I take my tissue and I just kind of stick it on top. Just pat it dry for a moment, like that. That kind of holds things in place and keeps it so it doesn't keep reacting. If there's anything that you want to fix, you can go in and do that quickly with your aqua painter. And so there is my butterfly. And the nice thing, the thing that I like about this is that because I've used the aqua painter on the butterfly, the color is concentrated on the butterfly. And then the spritzing just kind of spreads it around a little bit. So you've kind of got that, that little bit of splash of color in the background, but it's not all over the place. It's not super intense. So if you can see, this is the butterfly that I've done now. This is a butterfly that I did earlier and it's already dry. See what the color variation is? Like you can really, it's depending on how much water you use, the spritzing you use, how much powder comes out, you can get a different look. This is the one that I did. This is my sample, my original card. So because this one's wet, I'm gonna let it sit and I'm gonna mount it a little later. I'd say like let it dry for half an hour before you do anything with it. So let me finish off the card using this piece that has already dried. So for my card base, I'm using a piece of Calypso Coral cardstock because I think it coordinates really well with these colors. I've cut this piece to 8.5 inches by 4.25 inches, and then I've scored it at 4.25. So it's a square card. It can still fit inside a medium envelope. It will be, if you just stick it in without another piece of cardstock, there'll be one end that's a little floppy. So if you want, you can take maybe a piece of Whisper White and cut it to 5.5 and 4.25 and put it in the envelope first and then put your card in, and then you can still mail it the regular way. So I'm going to use some tear and tape on the back because this is such a watercolor paper is porous. I thought sometimes the Tombow might not be the best bet for adhering this. And because watercolor paper can warp a little bit, you know, it's a little stiffer, I'm going to do it all along the edges. You might be able to use like something like Fast Fuse as well, and maybe you can use Tombow. I just thought that this would work really well for use this end. That end wasn't coming off very nicely. There we go. Finally this end. All right, then I'm just going to mount this centered. On my card like that. So that's the card I did earlier. This is the card that's still drawing the focal point today. So you can see, like, just you've got 3 very different butterflies, but they're all, you know, kind of, they all have the concentration, the center, and the little splash of color on the outside. Okay, I'm gonna turn this around and I'm gonna answer your questions. I know I have at least one. Let me turn this back around. All right. Okay, now when I'm looking up at the camera, I have to look through I have these glasses, my reading glasses are built in. So Connie is asking, what is the stamp set called? Is it in the spring catalog? Yes, so the stamp set is called Beautiful Day. It will be backwards on the camera right now. So this is the Beautiful Day stamp set, and I used the butterfly out of this one. And then I used the Celebrate You out of Amazing You stamp set. This is a celebration stamp set. If you want to know all the supplies that I used, go to the description of this video, and there's going to be a link to my blog, and that has all the supplies that I used. It also has all the measurements that I use. I have a little quick reference section in there, and you can go in and you can see exactly the supplies that I used. And then afterwards, I'm going to post this video again. It will be on Facebook, and it will be on YouTube, and the link, it will be embedded into my blog as well. So if you want to go back and see how I did it, it's not really a hard technique or anything. I just like the combination of using the aqua painters with the spritzers. So it kind of, it's cool to use both on one card. Let me see if anyone else has a question. Oh, someone already answered my question. I should have scrolled down. Oh, Connie's from Denmark. That's so cool that we have people from different continents here. Okay. Janine says she's glad I'm showing you how to use Brusho. I'm sure there's people that have done other things with Brusho. Well, I know there are, but I just love that I could just kind of play around and do something myself. It's kind of fun sometimes just to play around with products and see what you come up with. Eileen says, butterflies, just what we need right now. Yeah, because right now it's kind of a dreary winter day. It's actually raining here. Someone from Wisconsin, hello. Okay, I think I got everyone's questions. So if you are not part of our Casing Tuesday Facebook group and want to be, look in the description of this video, or I think even if you put Casing Tuesday into the search engine on Facebook, I'm pretty sure it will come up. And you can join our group and you can case a card with us. You can share with us what you would do with this layout. And you can see all the different samples of our bloggers, and that can give you an idea, like, oh, I don't have to stick exactly to this layout. I can play around with it a little bit because we have a real wide variety of how people have interpreted this card. So that's kind of neat to see, and it's neat to see how people have done it with different stamp sets. And so I love that. So I hope you will join us over there. And if you have any questions, please post to my blog, post to my Facebook group, send me an email, and I will try and answer them. So I hope you guys all have a great week, and I will be back here next week with a Valentine's card because we have Valentine's Day coming up. So I hope you all have a great week. Take care. Bye-bye.